if you hear it, I think you'll like it, and I think you and Alex could, maybe.
It's called it's Dream Theater, and it's Rite of Passage.
A Rite of Passage.
A Rite of Passage. I will check it out, William. I thank you for the call. Let's jump to Greg in Florida. Greg, you're on the line.
Hey, Jason, how you doing?
Good, man.
Cool. Hey, I don't know why, but I sometimes tune into the mainstream media, and I was wondering if you've seen CNN was running a story the week of 9/11 saying how exposed our legislative branch of government is. And the reason they cited was that the plane that went down in Pennsylvania, they're saying, was headed towards the White House, and there was a full session of Congress. And the target of that plane was supposedly our Congress. And what kind of turmoil our country would be in if every member of Congress were suddenly taken out.
So what they're saying is that the legislative branch has had to give up some of their power because of the attacks of 9/11, where Congress could have been decapitated. So instead of just letting that happen, if it actually did, they're just going to take the power away from Congress and the legislative branch and give it to the executive branch and the judicial branch.
Well, also they had some expert that they asked the question, why does this matter to America? And the guy said that if the legislative branch were suddenly to be taken out, the president could declare war on multiple countries without being checked or vetoed or any kind of vote taken. And he cited a couple more things. And the reason I brought it up is because it seems like when I was watching this, like they were preparing us for something. You know how they do that?
Well, here's the deal. On 9/11 itself, there seemed to be a lot more going on than just the 3 attacks that actually did occur. Obviously, there's something that happened in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Now, the question is, was the White House the target? Because we had those reports, there's a plane heading in to the White House. Or was the Capitol building with Congress actually the target? If you look at Amalgam Virgo, they run a drill of flying a commercial airliner into the Capitol building. Now, on top of that, if you watch my film Fabled Enemies, again available over at InfoWars.com, or you can watch it for free online, there's a section in there called Other Targets. And Governor, I think, Paris Glendening starts talking about how he saw a list on the morning of 9/11, which was sent to him by the local police force, I guess, where the World Trade Center, I think he says the Sears Tower and the Capitol building, as well as the Pentagon, are all on this list. So my feeling is there was more to the coup, more to the takeover than actually did occur, that there were people inside the government who, and military, not just the government, but the military, who started to get hip to this and stopped it. I don't know whether, Flight 93 was blown up or shot down, or whether it was even Flight 93 at all, but something happened there. And it seems to me, with the threat over to Air Force One, that there was a lot more going on. And they may have wanted to decapitate Congress at that point so that they could go into the Middle East. I feel like, the anthrax attacks being an inside job, for instance, really pushed those who were not ready to just give carte blanche power to the executive branch, who were not ready to sign on to the Patriot Act, who were not ready to invade Afghanistan off the bat without some kind of evidence. But you have another scare inside D.C., you have a couple people die, you have the media attacked, and it's a whole nother ball game. I thank you for the call, Greg. Let's jump to Matt in the UK. Matt, you're on the line.
Hi, Jace. Good evening from the UK. It's about 1 o'clock in the night time here in the UK. 2 questions, Jace. Thanks. Number one question is, what was that plane over the towers? What was it called? Why was it called a Doomsday plane? I can't get that. I've seen Endgame and all the movies.
All right. Well, have you seen Fabled Enemies? I go into the...
And also, I'd like to say, I'd like to thank Charlie Sheen for having that bravery to come out and to say, 9/11 truth needs to come out.
No, I agree with you. All right, so what was that plane? Why is it called a Doomsday plane? Now, let's just get something straight. The white plane in New York, we only have one video of it. There's no definitive proof that is a quote-unquote E-4B or a doomsday plane, but it seems likely that it is probably an E-4B or doomsday plane based on the fact that there is another white plane, which is definitely an E-4B or a doomsday plane, which is a command center for members of the shadow government, the continuity of government program that we were just talking about that would have taken place and really did take place on 9/11. It was in place before 9/11 due to Global Guardian and the mass Armageddon exercise that was going on that morning. However, you don't have these guys take over as much power if Congress is not decapitated. So you have an E-4B definitely on the site of the Pentagon. Then through some public documents, you find out that this mass Armageddon exercise is going and that there are 4 other E-4Bs throughout the country. Then you go to the video evidence, and there is a white plane in secure military space in New York City. In other words, this white plane is, the only other planes that were in that area that day that weren't government planes were the 2 planes that hit the World Trade Center. So that is likely also an E-4B. Now, in the 80s, they revamped the continuity of government program to establish new rules and new powers for people like Dick Cheney, and they did this under George H.W. Bush. While Bush was the vice president under an actor President Reagan, he reconstituted this, and there was a huge scandal. I use a couple of the clips in Fabled Enemies, but there was a larger scandal beyond that. It was really the birth of things like Blackwater and the sole source contract for these people who were really, this is the same group that was running drugs in Iran-Contra. They were able to set up these other organizations and have sole source contracts, which aren't as controversial today. They're almost accepted. So there was a lot going on, and I would have to say that the evidence points to that also being an E-4B. And why is that important? You look at the 9/11 Commission report, they don't want to talk about it at all. The first planes there didn't get there until, I think, 15 to 17 minutes after the second tower actually was hit. If there was an E-4B plane on the scene, we should know about it. We should know that there was a government plane there. Anything else for me, Matt?
Yeah, Jason. Also, I'll tell you what niggles me is, I read on YouTube, and a lot of the US guys that listen to what I'm saying now, is I read a lot of these people that are in the towers, and they're talking to like the EPA, is it called EPA, the Emergency Service, or whatever you call it, in America. And it's their way that it's an inside job. The way they're saying, look, we're dying here, we can't breathe, whatever else. And they're going, never mind, just keep there, we're going to be there, we're going to be there. It's like it's orchestrated by them. They were told to keep people calm, let people die.
Well, absolutely.
And
And
also what's so crass and disgusting is all the ABC News and the helicopters that were there when these people were dying in those towers.
Yeah, and not going to the roofs to save them. Now, I don't know if they could have made a roof landing, and I thank you for the call, but it is disgusting and disturbing to me that they literally treated the heroes of 9/11, the survivors of 9/11, like nothing more than cattle. And they let those people die by inhaling all the barium and the chromium and the other heavy metals and the dust particles in the atmosphere. Remember, these things were cut down to microns in size. These things were pulverized. All this concrete was pulverized into a fine, fine dust. Believe me, sir, it was a controlled demolition. They killed all those people in the towers. They killed all those people on the ground that didn't know that they were going to collapse, and they didn't give a damn about the survivors. And that's why to this day, they just deny that people at the World Trade Center are getting cancer from the dust in their lungs. Oh, it just doesn't happen. It's made up like fairy tales and unicorns, my friend. Meanwhile, guys like coughing up blood, can't barely breathe. He's 38. He'll die by the time he's 40. All the dogs are dead. They didn't survive. We're going to go to Kelly, Anita, Anthony, and more. The number is 888-201-2244. It's the InfoWarrior with Jason Bermas, PrisonPlanet.tv, Infowars.com.
Hello, friends. This is Alex Jones, and I want each of you to ask yourself this question. Do you really know what's in your tap water? In a recent study conducted by a major environmental auditor, they found that over 260 chemicals and pollutants are present in municipal drinking water. Many of these chemicals are directly linked to cancer, reproductive, immune, and developmental system diseases. Now, what are you going to do about it? The Ecola Blue atmospheric water generator is a low-cost way to take back control of you and your family's drinking water. The Ecola Blue 28 produces up to 7 gallons of water from the humidity in the atmosphere and uses state-of-the-art carbon filtration, reverse osmosis, and ultraviolet light sterilization techniques. That's right, clean water right from the air you breathe. Order today by calling 1-800-691-6043. That's 1-800-691-6043. Or visit Ecola Blue on the web at www.ecoloblu.com today. That's ecolablue.com.
The shakedown continues on the American people. I want to go briefly to these 2 articles, then we're going to go back to your phone call. Senator Dodd favors bank super cop idea. You see, Senator Dodd, who ran for the presidency, who is a prominent member of the Democratic Party, is out there promoting that the people who caused this economic crisis, the Federal Reserve Bank, the IMF, the World Bank, they should regulate themselves, and they should regulate all the other banks and then non-bank organizations as well.